Welcome back, y'all. Thank y'all. I hope y'all had a great week. We're gonna be talking about and addressing this really, really weird actor turncoat, heel turn that Governor Hochu and Mayor Eric Adams have done regarding the shrimmigrants issue and policy. So we're going to be trying to hit that. I might be ranting a little bit today. Bear with me. I'm going to see y'all. All right, y'all. The year is year. Welcome to the Millenial podcast. We out here, gang. I hope y'all had a great week. I hope that you learned a whole lot since the last time you pulled up to the podcast. Thank you all for spending this time with me preemptively. I'm going to thank each and every one of y'all, whether you're listening or whether you're watching on YouTube. For those of you listening, we are on the YouTube, so you can see my mug, see where we're filming from. For those of y'all watching on the YouTubes, what's up? We do have an audio component, so say that you don't want to necessarily sit down and on the couch and watch the pod. You can most certainly listen to it during your morning coffee, during your night run, what have you. We're here for y'all. We're on all of the platforms, every single one. Stitcher, Google Podcasts, which I think is rolling into YouTube Music now. It's going to be weird. We're going to see how that works. I'm on Apple. I'm on Spotify. And of course the video is on YouTube. So by all means, we are on Instagram and we are on TikTok. At Social Millennial Pod. You should be able to find us pretty easily. Sound off over there. I basically, the IG is a meme dump. I throw clips over there. Y'all want to swing by, give us a little LOL, swing by, give us some commentary on some of the clips that we do here. That would be great. And by all means, please click the like button, click the subscribe button on whatever platform that you're enjoying this on. And please leave a comment. Please leave a like. Please share. It really helps the podcast. Thank y'all so much. I'm offering this podcast for free at this point. The Patreon is coming soon. It hasn't debuted yet, but it's coming soon. But for right now, the podcast is super free. All right. Free and clear. So thank you guys so much for taking the time out to pull up. Now let's get to it. I had a pretty good week. Very much so enjoyed myself, learned a few things about myself this week and creating and just getting into the habit of things, like getting back into the swing. I'm starting to throw a lot more music content out there since the strike and acting has kind of slowed down. I've been wanting to get into the mental habit of creating, and maybe some of y'all could identify with this. And my little anecdote here. For those of you who are creators, those of you who long to create, want to get some things done, maybe have a few things that you want to get off your chest that are just inside of there, that you want to get out. I'm a person who has kind of issues with issues when it comes to sort of the emotional involvement of creating things. And not necessarily that I have an aversion to the work of creating, not at all. It's more so whether or not the attempts are futile. As I'm getting older, I sort of adopted this thing that I'm now getting out of and just rediscovering the wonder that I had and the passion that I had for creating. Now, I never lost the basic passion for it, my fundamental passion for creating, but what I lost was the drive, was the work ethic, was the just creating for creating's sake, because I've got stuff to get off of my chest. And really my art helped me to work through that for my entire life. And on the road somewhere along the way, on the road to like trying to get signed, on the road to trying to bring up my social media followers, and on the road to trying to make the right steps to get my name in the right rooms, I kind of got into this funk of creating, only creating for a purpose, like only creating when it was meant for something instead of just doing my thing and throwing it out there. So I'm really getting back to that, and I'm not feeling pressed in my creating anymore like I was when it is that you feel like you need to do something to capitalize on something or what have you. You feel pressed with your creating, and you begin to lose the fire of creating, like the enjoyment of it. So I think I'm really getting into the balance of, I've got to create. I do this for a living. I do the arts for a living. But that in my creating, I still maintain my artistic authenticity, my artistic integrity to the best of my ability. And I don't quite feel as pressed. And when I say pressed, for y'all who don't understand, when I mean pressed, it's kind of like stressed, but not really. It's like stressed and pressured at the same time. I'm doing things to alleviate the pressure. And that doesn't necessarily mean like using any substances to try to help me chill. It doesn't mean taking on less creating. In fact, I'm doing more creating than I've done in a little while. You guys will hopefully see that on the IG, on the social media accounts. You'll see that there's going to be a lot more things coming. And me as an artist, because for those of you who don't know, for first time listeners, I am an actor. I am a songwriter. I'm a musician. I'm a producer. I am a musical director. And so not being pressed for me has been not necessarily sticking to my schedule. Like, I understand that I have a certain deadline that I need to meet for the things that I have to put out. So that stays intact, but everything in between, I just kind of like, here's when I want to kind of do things, but if I need to shuffle things around, it's okay. Like, I mean to come into my set times of creative flow, the calmest that I could be. And I'm finding in my older age that calmness is really, for me, is really keeping my creative juices flowing. It's really allowing for the passion to overflow into my work, as opposed to hunker down, get in the trenches, and make something cool. That wasn't serving me. It had started becoming that, and it just really stifled not the spontaneity, but just stifled the flow. So hopefully that helped you guys. But yeah, so our main event, I'm not doing like 3, 4, 5, 6 points or 5, 6 things this time. But let me tell y'all how tight that I have been, not necessarily because of shroom immigration, not because of that in and of itself, because I am absolutely the son of immigrants. Both of my parents come from my parents both come from 2 different countries. Neither of them were born here. So I'm not at all against that. I'm not that kind of a person. I'm not of that ilk. What is messing with me, like what this rant is kind of how the powers that be, how our state government, because I'm in New York right now, how the state government, Governor Hochu, Mayor Eric Adams, they kind of, it's a weird thing. I think people are starting to see it. We're starting to understand politics. Like, it's become the lying and sort of the role playing, the acting, the sort of media personality style of things, and the sort of like, oh, well, this is the wave that the agenda is now, so we're just going to go by that wave. And then when the wave stops, we're just going to kind of act like we didn't say what we just said, and we're going to act like the agendic or the agenda wave from a few weeks ago never existed. I feel like people are starting to notice it. They're starting to get it, that it's like, we're really like, didn't y'all just say XYZ? Weren't y'all just the ones? It's basically that attitude that I have. It's interesting. And the city, or at least anecdotally from my perspective, it seems more and more so that the not caring necessarily about the people of New York City, the lack of care that local government has for the people of New York City is it's just more and more apparent. Like, it's not veiled as it once was back in the day. So that's what's sort of getting me thinking. Like, I got that government really doesn't care about the people like that. In a general sense, government does not really care whether you're talking about federal, whether you're talking about your local state governments. They really don't care about you. Like, they really don't. But at least for a long, long time, they gave us the luxury of not being so blatant about it. You know what I'm saying? So at least we're not just seeing you do it. Like, Cat Williams, we can see you. Like, we can see you, dog. Like, you're in 4K. Like, we have news, we have you on camera. Like, we see it. People are now going back and comparing what you said, and it doesn't match up. And not that necessarily you're gonna be exactly the same on something, because events on certain issues, because events are going to change, circumstances are going to change, surrounding it, context is going to change. But when we're dealing with something that you created, and that the agenda created, the general agenda created from your side of the camp created, don't now come to the people and be like, this is a problem that I don't see us ever getting out of. We're in a crisis. We're into this, and act like y'all wasn't the ones that did this. Y'all wasn't the ones which we had no vote, which is wild. So for those who don't know, which I don't think there's not a single person who doesn't know that's here in New York, at least. When all of the shrimmishration stuff was going down, and it's currently going down, and the busing was happening, to the various states, that was exposed, I think, by Governor Abbott from Texas. I think he was the first to blow that story, to blow the lid off of what was happening. At that point, there were no reports. No one was reporting on the federal government taking shrimmigrants from the border, and because there's so much of them, and putting them on buses and sending them to cities and areas and so on and so forth. We hadn't had any reports of that. I think Governor Abbott was the one that broke that said that on television. This is what's happening, and they're trying to hide it. So once that came out, you had a lot of these cities, which happened to be Democrat-run cities, that said, please bring everybody. We will be a sanctuary city. If anyone wants to come, they can come, send them over to us. And one of those states that did that, one of those cities that did that, was New York. Eric Adams was, please come. I mean, I'll see if I can throw a few YouTube links to the addresses that Governor Hochul and Eric Adams gave a few years ago, 2020, where they were like, yo, pull up. Governor Hochul at the time was like, it says on the Statue of Liberty on Ellis Island, bring us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free. That counts for any and everybody that wants to come and flee from any kind of thing. Pull up, right? That was back in 2020. They said those things in 4K on TV. I'm gonna see if I can remember to put the YouTube links in the description of this video and in the description of the podcast, so y'all could click and see. Sort of hypocrisy, thy name is Hochul. Hypocrisy, thy name is Eric Adams. You hopefully will be able to just see it side by side, and like, oh wow, how the tables have turned. But they were really on that tip in 2020. Now, when they said those things, I had already off rip understood we don't have the resources for that. Inflation is getting crazy. Thank you, Bidenomics, trash ass Bidenomics. How the White House, how the White House wants to spin a basura economic policy They want to try to flip that into some kind of Reaganomics, into some kind of, oh, it's good, it's great, it's this. It's not. Bidenomics is trash. Inflation is running wild intentionally. I believe it's on purpose. And let me say the Fed has something to do with that, raising the interest rates. The Fed has encouraged big businesses to lay off people in order to increase the inflation, increase the joblessness, to try to reset the economy after COVID. It is a thing. I'm not going to put a YouTube link or anything in the description. That's going to be another episode where I'll talk about that, or maybe a video for the Patreon. A deep dive, but that is a thing. It's not a conspiracy theory. They urged big business corporations to just lay people off, just work at a deficit, to increase the joblessness rate, the jobless rate. Yeah. This inflation is intentional. Bidenomics is trash. Food costs an arm and a leg. Your dollar is going a shorter and a shorter distance. So that this is all happening 2020, and Hochu and Eric Adams are saying this nonsense about Sanctuary City, bring everybody. I already understood, I had already known that the city's infrastructure could not handle, the city's programs could not handle a large influx of people like that. They couldn't. Now I know that New York had emptied out because of COVID, but emptying out and then bringing in immigrants who still need to be processed, who don't have proper working papers, who really can't do anything in terms of societal mobility when they get here, is not the same as refilling New York again. Because these workers or these potential workers can't work. You'll now have to run through a whole bunch of legal red tape through the legislature, whether it be federal and local legislature, in order to get these people processed, whether it's through immigration services and or through our local services, to get them the authorizations that they need. It's rough when it's a few hundred people, but I expected the thousands and thousands of people that pulled up to pull up. I was fully expecting that. So when they said that in 2020, I'm like, oh no, it's about to go down. Everything that's happening now, I expected it. And I think most New Yorkers expected it, or most New Yorkers knew what could happen, but a lot did not really think that this is how far it would go. Because you think, oh, okay, everybody pull up to a certain point, we will reject them because our systems can very easily become too bloated. Well, not bloated, but too overburdened, that we'd have to start turning people away. And if we start turning people away, where are they going to go? They're going to live in the streets. And we're going to have a California situation with homeless towns. Now, how is that? So then the idea is like, if you're going to be altruistic, like if this is out of altruism, how is that helping immigrants coming in who want a better life? They could have stayed where they was at if they were going to sleep on the streets. What's the point of this, right? So flash forward, we get to now, and over 100,000, our homeless shelters are overrun. They in that time, they've opened up all of these hotels, of which the prices of which were out of the average person's price range. To talk about in Manhattan, to talk about the nonsense, right? If I wanted to get a room at one of these hotels, I mean, hundreds of dollars per night. And these people are getting to stay there for free. Which goes to show government subsidy, clearly. Government subsidy. They don't have money for expanding, for housing the homeless, for feeding the homeless. They don't have money for men's shelters, men's mental health. They don't have money for music programs in schools. They don't have money to improve public schooling. All of a sudden, we don't have it in the budget. But all of a sudden now, all of a sudden we could pay XYZ owner of multi-million-dollar hotels in Manhattan the government subsidy, that money's coming from somewhere, the government subsidy to then take over the payment per month of what they would get if they were fully booked out in order to put these people up for free. And it's so many people, which is wild. It's so many people that these places will be filled up and there will still be individuals out on a line in the front sleeping on the street in the night. This is, and the idea is that on its face, yes, it is a humanitarian crisis. It is a problem, truly a problem, as these people should not be treated the way that they're being treated. They should not have to be outside in the way that they're outside, etc. Those are still the facts. And it is also a fact that our government failed them. And they preached all of this. They want to help, and they wanted this, and they wanted that, and they wanted this. But nah, we really just want to use y'all as political pawns to be able to line our pockets. And I say that because, now it's Eric Adams and Hochu trying to talk to the Biden administration about sending in money and sending in aid to New York because New York needs it because it's got all these people, and Lord knows the crime rate is going to start going crazy. We need to be able to help them. We need money, etc., etc. Now they want to act like this when they allowed it to keep going. So we got to 30,000 coming in, and they didn't go, okay, that's it, send them to another place. This is as much as we will take in and we'll be able to work with, and we'll be able to process, and so on and so forth. Now send the rest to this other place. Now let's send the rest to this other place, to a different city that will take them, a different sanctuary city. Nah, they said, over 100,000, bet. Men, women, children, bet. And then Eric Adams has the nerve to go, I don't see a way out of this. Nigga. You don't see a way out of it? You saw your way into it, my nigga. Like, you didn't have to do it. It was you who did it. We didn't get the vote. We didn't get to vote as a people, as a populace of New York City, as to whether or not we want these people here. And if we do want to help them, in what capacity we will allow in terms of the numbers. Because no lie, and this isn't even being profiling, stereotypical, like for real. There was just a news story. I forget. There was just a news story. They put all these people in this, like a bunch of different shelter areas in this one neighborhood for shmimmigrants, for the shmigrants, and the crime is crazy. Like, they're jumping into cars, driving without a license, crashing all over. I think the headline was something like a destruction derby in this neighborhood. Thanks a lot, Eric Adams, who was supposedly supposed to be tough on crime. This is the same dude that I keep hitting this mic. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm getting a little hype. The same dude who, when he first got elected, was disappearing the homeless. Like, went back to niggas driving around in a van and just picking up niggas off the street in the night and disappearing them. Same dude. And now we're talking about, we're going to put them in overcrowded places. We're going to have them lining the streets, sleeping in the street. We're going to allow for greater criminality, because now we can't really track these people. We can't really, there's no identification process here. There's no driver's license. There's no green card. There's no social security number. There's no nothing. So people can commit crimes and you don't even really know you can't even really, like, forget a fingerprint database. You're just going to go off of a description? Something like, what's going to happen here? So Eric Adams has the nerve, the gall to go, I don't see a way out of this. And it's going to get worse. And it's just going to keep getting, because you want it to get worse, my guy. I don't know what the agenda is yet all the way. I've heard some conspiracy stuff about certain aspects, looking at this from certain perspectives. I won't share that in this episode, but the agenda has to be to get more money from the government. And some of that money, of course, is going to disappear. It's going to disappear, and Eric Adams' bank account is going to become a little heavier. His pocket is going to become a little heavier if New York could get a little payday. You feel me? Some of that money is going to disappear somewhere. The numbers are going to get fudged. It's going to fall off somewhere. It's wild, because then you have the shmimmigrants who are here overrunning the hotels. They're trying to find places to put them. Upstate doesn't want to take them. Upstate, some of those counties sued And in Albany, Supreme Court was like, yeah, nah, it's unconstitutional. You can't just drive these people up there and there's no legislative vote. There's no nothing. There's no authorization. Sorry, Eric Adams, you cannot do that. And Hochul and Adams are not even all the way agreeing. So Hochul is at the point that she's basically ipso facto this, that, and the third on her Eric Adams, you messed this up. Like, this is your fault. Don't bring them up here to Albany and up here to Troy, New York, and up here to Spring Valley. Don't you try to sneak them in the evening, because we're going to send them right back. She said, I forgot what the interview was, but she did say that's not helping. Sending people who don't know our language like that, who can't really get a job like that because they're undocumented, to a motel on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere and then just leaving them there and telling them to survive that's not helping anybody. It's not helping them. That's not caring for them. That's hurting them. That's putting them in danger. That's putting their kids in danger, their families in danger, and other people in danger outside of them. So she was basically like, nah, good. Eric Adams, figure it out. So she herself, she flipped as well. Because she was just like Eric Adams. She was, yeah, yo, bring everybody. Like I said, yeah, yo, bring everybody. We're good. We'll take them. But they're now, quote unquote, seeing the problem in that. I think they saw the problem with that to begin with and just kind of kept pushing until it was untenable. And then we're like, nah, it's good that it's untenable because we're going to try to get money. We're going to try to get the National Guard. We're going to try to destabilize things and keep them destabilized. At least that's what I think. Because I feel like no person in their righted mind has the capacity to run for office and has the capacity to lead and manage all that the mayor has to lead and manage, and all that the governor of the state has to lead and manage, and not foresee that if we don't have the proper infrastructures and the proper social systems built out to be able to receive these people, that it's only going to be a disaster. There's no other way. Like, it's no other alternative besides disaster. So yeah, I'm just like, my nigga, don't come to me now and trying to act like it's a crisis. Like, you were not the nigga that signed the papers to bring them over. Don't do it. Governor Hochul is talking about now trying to get the National Guard to come in and give help with the situation in New York City. But Hochul is like, Eric Adams, fix it, manage it, because this is your problem. You decided to do this. So yeah, it is. Eric Adams is definitely correct in that it is going to get worse because Eric Adams wants it to get worse, because the agenda, and I dare say, the Democrat agenda is this. This is what we're going to hinge on for the election. It's going to be shmimistration. It's going to be that. That's just what it is. So we're going to keep hearing about it. We're going to keep thinking, you're going to stop hearing about trans rights. You're going to stop seeing rainbows in Target. You're going to stop seeing businesses trying to pander to that. And you're going to watch. And you're going to see them start pandering to shmimistration and just allowing the shmimistrants to, trying to get them to rock, like let them cook undocumented. Because what I'm seeing now, and I think Hochul had talked about it and Adams had talked about it. I don't know what stage in the process that they are at this point, but trying to figure out how to legally fast track these people into like some sort of pseudo documented status so that they can work, where they're not like traditionally documented, but some new thing to create. And in my mind, ultimately what this is about, or part of what this is about, because the agenda is always going to be multi-pronged. I think this is about voters. I think this is about upping the population of New York City. I want to say to get more electoral college votes, but actually it's what I'm coining the phrase as a ghost voting body, the ghost body. And so what I mean by that is that the agenda is, or it seems to be, I could be wrong, y'all. I could be wrong. hear me out, seems to be that we get all these people into the country, and this is happening in various places, sanctuary cities, even the border states are having a lot of problems with a lot of crime happening because they're letting these people in all the way without fully processing them at all. Excuse me. Actually, excuse me for 1 second. My throat is going to think I need to drink something. Hold on. Oh, my Lord. So you get all these people in, right? And figure out how to fast track them to get them a voting status, right? Figure out how to fast track them into a voting status, or figure out a process by which to fast track them. Not all of them will take up the process to be able to, because not all of them are going to care. There's going to be so many of them that you could fudge the numbers as to how many of them engaged in this process, which would be part of their pseudo documentation. That's not real documentation, not all the way, not in the traditional sense, but this new designation that is going to be created, which will give them the ability to vote, the right to vote, without being a citizen. And so there's so many of them that you can fudge the numbers about how many have actually done it. So then you have this voting body, right, which is of a different designation in terms of their documentation status, but they can vote. And when elections come and you want to sort of tip the scales either way, you want to tip it in whatever little bit away or whatever, because when you're dealing with popular vote, you're tipping. A little tip is the difference between 100,000 and 50,000. You want to tip it in the little ways for the popular vote, etc. So it could be in favor of a certain candidate, regardless of the size, regardless of the side, regardless of the political leaning. It will become easier to tip those scales because the votes may not be completely trackable in terms of chain of custody to every person in the vote, in this voting body who has their own special documentation status. They're not going to be easily traceable to every single one of those people. So it's going to be easy to just say, oh, this many of them voted for this thing, and just throw fake names, throw whatever. And then you're not going to be able to go and check it. I mean, my idea here, my theory here is a buildup of what happened in our past election, where systemically states, blue states, systemically the governors were accepting hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to influence the legislature to change some of the chain of custody laws in those states, to change the voter identification laws in those states, to change the ballot, what is it called when you check the ballot, to make sure that to change signature matching laws, so that in some states it was possible in the previous election, this wasn't possible like this before this previous election. In this previous election, where people could, in some of these states, you could literally write a straight line in the ballot thing as your signature, and that will count. And they wouldn't go back to verify your other signature from your past thing to see that was you. It's like that. They changed the law so that it's that like easy to just let a ballot slide. So that exists now. So the next level is if now in some of these states, especially some of the blue states, you can get these ballots to slide and pass that are really sketch ballots. Now we just have all of this other designated, documented group of people say that they 150,000 of them voted for XYZ. Who's going to check, and how could they? Ghost voter body. Ghost body. I believe this is one of the prongs of the agenda. One of the prongs. Because why take all these people in? We've never had this kind of immigration. I mean, never. Never these numbers. Never these numbers. The Biden administration is just allowing it. They're just allowing it. And it's not good. It is dangerous. I understand there are people of the ilk who are like, oh, but these are people, you know, no people is an alien. No person is an alien. No person is an illegal person. No person is, you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that humans or we should not be sympathetic, empathetic to individuals who may be less well off than us. That's not the point that I'm trying to make. That's not where I'm coming from. Where I'm coming from is there is a process to do certain things. There is a right way and a wrong way. Many years ago, generations before us right now, did it the way that is being done right now. And it didn't help. So, and when I say many generations, all over the world, it is not a new thing for a country to keep strong borders and to know who's coming in and who's coming out of their country. That is not anything new. And a lot of the media, a lot of the pundits, you know, a lot of the frou-frous want to be disingenuous in that way and try to rhetorically act like, oh my God, this is the world. My God, how could you think? No, open the borders, open them. No, every country, especially if you're first world, has strong borders. You want to travel from Germany across to an adjacent country. It's a process. It is a process. You've got to have your documentation and your papers in order. They don't play no games. You want to move to any of the other borders of the countries of France? There's a process. So all that I'm bringing up is that there is a process that should be maintained in order to maintain order. And in maintaining order, we're trying to make sure that the citizens of the United States' constitutional rights are being protected. Right to property, etc., are being protected in the way that they're supposed to be. That's the point of this. That's the point of what I'm saying. We close up the borders. We have our documentation process, and I do think Trump's policies, immigration policies, made a lot of sense. Build a wall, cameras, more guards. Building a wall is not even a new thing, because there was a fence at this point, and I don't know if any of y'all know this. At this point, where Biden said when he got elected that they're going to stop building the wall, continuing the wall, at this point, they are continuing the wall. It's happening. Biden signed the documents. They are continuing sections and sections and sections of the wall going across it. So for everybody who wants to be like, oh, Trump was racist, bro, Trump, because of Trump administration. No. It is good policy and governance to properly etch out the border of your territory in order to maintain order within your territory. And it's been that way for centuries. It just is what it is. If any other person wants to tell you otherwise, do not believe them. Please. They are being disingenuous. They're trying to deceive you. They're going on their emotions. They're trying to bank on whatever misinformation or lack of knowledge that you might have. It just is what it is. And we've always had a process. We've always had paperwork. If you're seeking asylum, if you're trying to be a citizen, there is a route for you. Trump's policy of stay in Mexico was good and should have continued to be upheld, instead of the caravans and caravans of people from all over the world, because it's not just Central Americans, it's not just Mexicans. And they wanted to continue to propagate that falsehood in the media when we had the caravans coming up from Central America. No, Mexico border gets immigrants from Africa, gets immigrants from Europe. Like, it's not Asia. It's not just Latinos, but they wanted to make it a Latino thing because they want Biden to seem like, oh, he blah, 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 and Trump is, oh, he's racist. No. We're trying to keep certain elements out. We have to track certain elements. Sleeper cells trying to come in through the border, through the southern border. And the process is put in place to be able to vet these people so that we can understand who we're allowing in. And that's been that way for every other country across the world. So please do not let anybody tell you otherwise, because that's how it's always been. Yeah, it's just my position is rule of law. My position is there is a process. Now, what should have happened? So we talk about Biden talking about he's the great unifier, but America is as segmented and divided as it's ever been, even under Trump. What should have happened if our government actually cared about people? Because again, I'm gonna tell y'all, government does not care about us. Government does not give a goddamn about us. They give a goddamn about their immediate pockets and their immediate circles and how it'll affect their immediate influence and their immediate friends. They do not care what happens to us. We are cogs in the machine. We are screws keeping the cogs together. That's it. Keeping the cogs in line. That's all that we are to them, to the machine. But you really want to make a change. You really want to help. Reform shrimpstration laws. Reform the shrimpstration court. They're behind by decades. Well, I want to say decades. I'm exaggerating. But they are behind in paperwork. Instead of throwing more personnel into the IRS, like Biden and the Biden administration did, and the Senate, etc., did, what they should have done was streamline and reform shrimpstration law and the shrimpstration process, and then throw mad judges in shrimpstration courts, throw mad personnel into the administration so that we could catch up and so that the system could work properly, as it hasn't worked properly for decades. That's how you fix problems. But the goal is not to, all right, everybody, here we go. Finale. The goal is not to fix the problem. It never is. The problem needs to continue. It needs to persist. Because where there is problem, where there is, I don't want peace. I want a problem. Always. Where there is problem, there is money to be made. Where there is problems, there is power that can change hands and power that can be gained. So as much as those who might be bleeding hearts, who might be a lefty and feels very empathetic to the peoples and wants to help, or those who might be righties who, want them all to go back to their country and get processed and then be able to come here, and those who are in the middle who see it in a very nuanced way, the problems are never going to go away. No one is going to solve them. Even though the solutions to the problems are blatantly screaming out in front of our faces, they will not do it. They will not do it because they have to pander to a specific political agenda that is driving the course of our nation. They will not do it because not abiding in that agenda may mean losing. So losing their political power, losing their office, losing their businesses, losing constituents, losing business partners, losing friends, losing influence, all the way up to maybe even being disappeared and losing their lives. The problems are not supposed to be fixed. Eric Adams is supposed to put on a song and dance show. He's supposed to put on the tears. He's supposed to turn on his acting skills and be disingenuous. And look at us, the New Yorkers, with a straight face and act like these people just poofed in and we have a crisis. As if New York City is a border city and the people are just flooding in. There's nothing we can do about it. He's going to look at you in your eyes and act like that and gaslight us, even though we know You're in 4K on television telling Shrimmershrints to come here. Come, we will accept everyone. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much for spending this time. Thank you so much, because you can't get the time back, and I'm glad that you spent it here chilling at whatever time of day on whatever day of the week that y'all decide to partake of the podcast. Thank y'all so much, and I want to hear what y'all think. I want to hear, what do y'all think is the reason why this is being allowed to happen? Because it's not that it's happening and no one can control it. It's being allowed. This is something that is within control, but those who have the control are allowing it to get out of control. Why do y'all think so? For those y'all watching YouTube, let me know down in the comments. Wherever there is any other allowance for comments, by all means, we want to hear what y'all think. So please let me know. If y'all agree, if y'all disagree, if y'all have your own theories, let me know what's up. Y'all think I'm wrong? Let me know. I want to hear it. All right, y'all. So thank y'all for spending time. We're on IG. We're on TikTok at Social Millennial Pod. We're no longer on X. We were on Twitter and then got off Twitter, and now Twitter's X. We're not on X at all. Thank y'all so much. Again, it means a lot that you came to come and listen, came to spend some time, and have a great week, y'all. I'll see y'all next time. All right. Peace.